Well, I was with a friend of mine. He was a scientist, and he was filming UFOs all up in Pine Bush. He made Pine Bush famous. Pine Bush was the #1 UFO spot in the United States for many years. And then he did work for the Montauk Project, and he had to find the energy location of the porthole vortex. Now, Pine Bush, New York, was a porthole because there's alien army bases there. Wanaque is owned by the government, and where we went, it was government property. Then you go to Long Island, Montauk, Long Island, where they said the other part of that base up. Now, Al Bielek and Preston Nichols went in there after it was closed up and everything. But what they talk about, and I can't think of the other name that Janet talks about, the guy that was at one of the speakers at her conference, he talks a lot about it. But we can debate someday if he wants to talk about what he said about Wanaque. Wanaque was an evil, negative place, the same as Wanaque is the most powerful energy on this planet. Anybody that walks there that we brought there, it's government land. So we have to sneak in. The signs say if you get caught on this property, you will be shot. But when we brought people there, people kind of went crazy, lost it. We brought the crystal skull there, the person that goes around the United States with the crystal skull. We brought a couple other big famous names there. And they kind of went out after that. They stopped going public. They stopped doing a lot of things. Because if you're not protected, the energy, when you walk, these clouds follow you. These balls of clouds follow you wherever you walk. Everywhere you look in the distance, you see these red eyes staring at you. There's these blue bats that have these glowing eyes that fly all around. And plus you'll get to hear things that you could not imagine, like dragons screaming and flying and everything else under the sun. We got a dragon.
So what
footprint.
do you think it is? Some kind of land that's on this planet that's not here, or another dimension? Or what was your perception or filter? What did you think it was?
Well,
sounds like a scary movie.
How it was, here's how it was created. All right, when they were playing with the Philadelphia experiment, and here's when the rip happened. Now they talk about the rip. If you watch the movie, The Philadelphia Experiment, and everything else, they had the Eldridge, and it was on the ocean, and they turned it on, and suddenly the ship disappeared. Well, going back and forth in time, which they did, they ripped that vortex of the time barrier, and it created a new vortex, which is what is allowing all these things that shouldn't be on planet Earth here, which people don't deal with, demons, entities, creatures. Well, that's not real, that's not... One here and there, like Bigfoot, and not Bigfoot, but like the Koopa Chopper monster and the Mothman and all those other kind of words. All those creatures came out of it. And it happened in one split second. But it happens every 20 years, that vortex opens greatly. And that's when the whole West Coast went into blackout, because I think it's a 20-year cycle. And when it comes back to that cycle, on that day, that vortex opens and like spits things out. The government was trying to close it. The whole Montauk Project, they were trying to close that vortex. And I remember I mentioned a friend of mine, ex-friend of mine, John Edmond, sorry, not John Ford. John Ford's in the nut house right now. John Edmond, he has a vortex or a porthole on his property. I brought Kerry Cassidy there, and she knew right where it was. She walked in and said, "This is where the vortex is." And she filmed the ship right over the house that night. But there's all kinds of creatures and entities coming out. I mean, his wife was supposedly raped by aliens, and but when I was there, I saw multiple things in 1 week. So they're not good. And when government says we're going to go through a porthole, where do you think you're going to go? I mean, it's like saying we're going to take a ship to heaven, or we're going to meet God if we go through
Well,
this
just tell us
wormhole.
what you experienced, Tommy. I mean, I want to know what you experienced from those clouds, because that's a different thing. And you were there, and you met Brian Williams. And what age were you?
Well, okay.
Because we didn't off
not
track.
Too long ago. It was in the past 20 years I met Brian. I was with, I'll say his name, Bruce Cornett. He's a scientist. He was doing all this UFO stuff way back then, and he was framed for sex crimes and put in jail a couple years ago. He got out. He's doing a lot of stuff again. But I met him, he was supposed to do a TV show, and he says he couldn't make it, so he let me do the TV show for him. And then he says, well, we're supposed to go see Brian, and then that's when I met Brian. Now, Brian, when I met him, he was, I hate to say, like a high-powered witch in his right. He had the pentagram on the floor and all these things when I met with him. And when I went in there, it was like a battle between him and me as energies. And he goes, who are you? Because I picked up his staff. He says, don't touch that, you'll die. And then I walked inside the pentagram. And he says, who are you? And then that's when we made friends. He worked for the government. He did readings for the government. He did a lot of things. But when he got involved, he lived up in Wanaque. His house was right next to the property. So we could just walk there because you couldn't park there. The police patrolled that all the time. So we used to get dressed up and walk into this vortex. Now, the second you walk past the bridge, which is the bridge that they flooded the city for, once you walk past that, you're walking into the vortex. I just got chills, just like that. The energy there. Is
it clouds? Is that like where the clouds are? The strange.
Well, the clouds
I don't know if you
all
call
around you.
Aliens or energy or
no,
from another place in space. Okay, you have. Tell people the name of your show. It's called Into the Strange, isn't it? And you talk about all this.
My show is called. I talk about a lot of different things, but I try to keep it spiritual because Sergio 18 and I lectured for a couple of years around the United States for global sciences, and we met everybody. I'm going to have a couple of famous people on my show that I consider that I met personally and I worked with, but not too many people do I promote because I only want to promote spiritual things right now because the whole UFO world is taking us to a different level. But when I met him, and we were lecturing, he would talk about the UFOs, the aliens, and the vortex. I would talk about spiritualism and what aliens are trying to do and everything else. So we had we always had a great following. Everywhere, every conference we did, everybody would be on top in our conference no matter what. We stayed at the place for a week, and we were taking people out at nighttime filming orbs and things like that. Because we were the first people in the United States to go public filming orbs. And we said we can film anywhere we are, anytime. Because they're aliens, they're ships, they're dimensional beings, they're everywhere. And they're here. And they all work at different levels. And we put out charts with the different kind of orbs. And now he's like being attacked. Well, they're not orbs. And well, mine are. Well, they shoot a picture of steam in the air and things, and you get thousands of bubbles. I know, look at all these orbs. No, it's a refraction of the light. That's all it is. So proving an orb is real and not is another thing. Proving what they are is another thing, and how much it affects the human race. They don't really interfere in general. But when I was up there and you walk into this cloud, it moves with you. You could walk this way, it'll come that way. You walk that way. These clouds just follow you. But then when you get to certain spots, the energy increases where it kind of like feels you're like in a fire and your body's burning. Not like in a real fire, but you can feel the heat and the energy going through your body. And it's kind of like sucking your energy. But I was always protected. We've set crystals up, crystal balls and spheres, and put lights on them. And then all these things would come out of the sky, out of the trees. Now, even the Hershey monkey, which was out of the Montauk Project, was supposed to be an entity that they created. I saw it. I saw it jump into a tree. A solid tree. It just jumped into it and went into the tree. I was chasing it. So it was the same day, the day after I saw the Bigfoot up in Wanaque. So these things are there. They're all over the place. And my whole experience with the Bigfoot is bizarre because Wanaque, New Jersey, there's lots of wolves up there. But you don't see them, you don't hear them. We walk through the snow all the time. We saw footprints. We never heard them. But the night that I saw Bigfoot, every wolf that you could possibly imagine was howling right after I saw it. So I really feel the wolves were chasing Bigfoot, and I heard the story now. The wolves do follow them. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that revolved around Wanaque. But Wanaque, if you go to the libraries and go to the places where anything was documented, the police documented all the UFO sightings. They documented that the Army was stationed there for 9 months, watching the ships going in and out of the reservoir where they just flooded the city, but nobody talks about what was happening during that time frame. Why were they doing it? Why did they go after this city that was underwater now? So when I was back at the Vortex, I got a picture. I just put it up. A little teeny ship came flying right in front of me. And then there was some kind of entity running down the river. It was just splash, splash, splash. 3 giant orbs were chasing it. And then these other 2 little square ships came flying across. I got a perfect picture of that. So we got pictures of things that nobody ever even witnessed, never mind actually having actual photographs. None of the pictures we shot were created by Photoshop or Print Shop or any kind of company that has a program that tears apart a picture and rearranges it. We sent
over what period of time, if you don't mind me asking?
This was from 1997 to 2000. That 96, well, it started in 96 because we did Strange Universe. Sargel and I were on it. They cut me out. Most of everything I said, they cut everything out. You only see me for a couple seconds. But they did put Sargel's video because I was talking about Native people. And the government doesn't allow anything Native to come out to the public, period. Because up at Wanaque, now this is something people don't know, the head of the Chippewa Nation, Jaguar priest, and 3 elders from Canada were all given visions to come there. And they came. And we met with them. We took them into the Vortex. And they said, there's no spirits here anymore. I said, no, I freed them all. And it was just an incredible thing because they were told that they had to go there to do work there. And when they got there, they said, all these souls are gone. I said, well, I have pictures. I'll show you pictures of what we do and how we do it and why I freed all these spirits. And then that one
you
picture
sound like
of me
a totally different
on...
person back then because, you said you just wanted to talk about spirituality, but that you have this interesting past in Wanaque, New Jersey, in this place that had cloud or beings with red eyes, cloud people.
We spent 3 years.
Paper people.
3 years. 3 years. We went there every other night. We spent 4 to 6 hours taking pictures from anywhere from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning. We shot at least 1,000 pictures every night. When we first went, I was using photo film, which was so expensive. And a lot of times we go to the print shop, to the photo place, and they go, we can't develop these. These are all. I said, develop every picture no matter what, because he saw blurs and he saw images and he says, well, this isn't right. So I said, no, you have to develop everything. But when you develop 4 rolls of film 2 or 3 times a week, it was too expensive. That's when digital cameras came out. I swapped my camera for a digital camera. We went out there, and that's when we filmed our first orb. In crystal clear, and then we started doing digital rather than photo because it was just so much cheaper. Because on digital, you could shoot 2,000 pictures and just delete them. I mean, it's not you have to pay to develop them. So in the interim, while I was up there, getting back to the energy that's there and the beings, a dragon flew over us, and there's no way you could describe it except maybe a 100-foot bird flapping its wings over you, and it went boom, boom. Boom, 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 like that. And then Brian's screaming. He goes, take out your cameras. Just keep shooting, keep shooting. So we're all shooting pictures, and then all of a sudden we hear it screaming, and I could do it over the phone, but it would scream. It would hurt your ears. It was so loud. It was like that, but real loud, and it was doing that, and we were following it. So let's keep following it. And all of a sudden it landed, and all these rocks fell down. And the next morning we went there. Its print was like right in the ground. The whole floor print was a real big print was right in the ground. We did get a picture of that. But it was we had 6 people with us. They all heard it, and they were all running around crazy, trying to find it, trying to see it. But it was invisible. A lot of the creatures there are invisible. Brian came out with a technique that people don't think is real. It's called the breath technique. And what you do, you take smoke and you breathe into the air. Any beings, interdimensional beings, when they get caught in that mist, when you hit it with light, reflects the image in it. So that's how we started getting all these images of creatures and weird fish flying through the air, 4-foot mushrooms, and all kinds of beings. But we got a picture of a little alien standing on the ground, real little. crystal clear. So he has so much evidence, and he